I'm Dr. Ben Newman. This is Ask Dr. Ben. I am a coronavirus researcher, and I have little tiny, I don't even know what they are, rainbow trouts maybe on my shirt today. Yeah. Wardrobe by Nicola, as always. Yeah, who else? Who else? Let's see. Two questions for Donna. Come on. Yeah. One, why are fully vaccinated people with no symptoms being tested? Great question. Answer, reservoir. Yeah. I don't mean a body of water, and I don't mean Reservoir Dogs, which I was going to say it's a great film, but it's actually a really harrowing film that happens to be well made, and I don't know that I can recommend that for everybody. um, a reservoir is a place where the virus can grow and mutate and change and then reemerge from that reservoir. And there are multiple papers out now showing that unvaccinated people, whatever their age, even little young people, are probably a pretty good reservoir for the virus that causes COVID 19. So that's why we're testing to know where the virus is. And if you don't test, like ideally, you test everybody once a week, maybe twice a week. And the tests, you don't have to, yeah, shove that weird little popsicle stick all the way up your nose anymore. Saliva tests work really well. There are papers that say that they may even be a little bit more reliable than the brain poking stick, the super Q-tip. So yeah, it's just about figuring out where the virus is, how much there is, and what's it up to. We and others have found interesting variants in younger people with few symptoms or no symptoms. That's yeah, kind of been an ongoing story. So that's why yeah, we don't want the virus just hanging out at its bad guy fortress, skull-shaped mountain, and coming up with new evil plans. We want to root it out wherever it is, and yeah, make sure there's no place for it. All right, question one done. Question two: why are the tests for these people showing? Why are the tests for these people showing positive for COVID? Yeah, all right. One pedantic point, it's not really a COVID test. That's the dumbest thing. That comes from like an early decision by the WHO to call it the COVID virus and to push COVID and kind of suppress SARS coronavirus 2, which is the actual virus. But yeah, I say that because I'm close to it, and it completely does not matter to anybody else. So, all right, I'm going to put that on the shelf, let go of it for a moment, and get on to the actual question. When a person tests positive for SARS-CoV-2, it means they have SARS-CoV-2 inside them. And that the only way you have this inside of you is if you are actively infected right now, or if you've just gone into the bathroom and done a big line of SARS-CoV-2, and somebody looks right up your nose. Nobody actually does that. That was a dumb joke. Yeah. Yeah, people only have this virus if they are infected. The thing is that we normally have learned, like in the past, like when I was growing up, that you're infected when you have symptoms. Now, it turns out that when people are more careful and they do these tests, they find out that you're actually infected with something before you get the symptoms. And the symptoms come along after. And in the case of COVID-19, the symptoms are really variable, and you might not even notice, or you might die from them. There is literally that much of a range. And having the virus in there is like this lottery ticket. You've got a certain percentage chance that it will kill you. There are no other prizes, though. The other prizes that you get kind of sick or maybe not very sick. Yeah, the prizes are all bad. It is not a lottery that anybody should play. That's basically it. So you will see occasionally otherwise competent and smart people saying really dumb and incompetent things like, oh, if it's below a certain level, it shouldn't count or whatever. There's no level at which it's okay to have, coronavirus. Like if you only have this much, it's not going to hurt anybody. That's not the case. That is bad science, and anybody who's saying stuff like that doesn't know what they're talking about. Yeah, I don't care how many degrees they have. That's just incompetent. I apologize for that, but yeah, that's it. That's where it is. So there seem to be too many. All right, so the question goes on. There seem to be too many, which makes me question if the test needs to be adjusted for those who are fully vaccinated. Yeah. Vaccination actually doesn't do anything that would affect your tests. So here again, there are multiple tests. If there's a test looking for antibodies, then you would expect that to be positive if you were infected and also positive if you have been vaccinated. So that's a different kind of test. That's like a how's your immune system doing kind of test. The actual COVID test is a thing called a PCR test. Those are the best ones. The rapid antigen tests are definitely not as good, like 1,000 times less sensitive. So yeah, they are just worse in every possible way, except that they're faster, a little bit faster. But a competent lab can turn around one of those saliva tests or nose swab tests in about 3 hours. So it can be pretty fast. It's a matter of how fast we want to go, how quickly we can fill up. We do them in little plates, and you try to fill up the entire plate before you run the plate because it's a lot cheaper that way. The plate is surprisingly expensive compared to the other reagents that you use for the test. So yeah, if we were to adjust the test given vaccination, I would say you'd want to make the test a little more sensitive because we're moving from barely trying to contain the avalanche of COVID-19, which was the kind of original position, to a position where we're containing the virus to some extent. We're containing SARS-CoV-2 to some extent, and now we're trying to root out the last traces. And rooting out the last traces means rooting out every last trace, no matter how big or small. And so, yeah, that's the trend I would like to see. That is the fastest path from where we are to the world where there's no more COVID-19, which is the world I want to live in, and I bet you do too. So that's the idea behind this, and that's why I say things like this. Yeah. Positive tests, indeterminate tests just mean you have a low value. You're definitely infected. You can pull out a full-on virus, and there's no way that got there by accident. So yeah, generally, positive tests are positive tests and need to be dealt with. Yeah, yeah. So there you go. I hope that helped. This has been Ask Dr. Ben.